Welcome to the Explainer! Today we're jumping right into a text that has literally shaped human history. Genesis chapter 17. But, we aren't just going to read this like some dusty ancient story. Instead, we're looking at it as the drafting of an ultimate binding legal contract. I mean, think about it. This is a deal laid out with exact terms, required signatures, and, as you'll see, some pretty severe penalty clauses.
And the whole thing kicks off with a massive shock factor. I mean, just imagine being 99 years old. At that point, your life is mostly behind you, your legacy is pretty much set in stone, right? And suddenly, God Almighty appears to propose this monumental deal. He tells Abram, "Walk before me faithfully and be blameless," and then initiates a contract that will absolutely change the course of the world.
Okay, let's dive into this. The text uses a very specific word to describe this arrangement, and that word is covenant. Now, a covenant isn't just a casual promise. It's not a temporary treaty that you can just back out of. In the context of this text, it is an everlasting, binding agreement. It carries the sheer weight of a permanent legal framework between two parties, in this case, God and Abram.
So here's our roadmap. We'll be breaking the complex rules of this text into 5 distinct, easy-to-understand clauses. First, the terms of the deal. Second, what's in a name. Third, the sign of circumcision. Fourth, a tale of 2 sons. And finally, immediate action.
Let's start right off with Section 1, the terms of the deal.
When you look at the sheer scale of what God brings to the negotiating table here, it's just massive. First up, God promises that Abram will be the father of many nations. Second, he promises extreme fruitfulness, stating that not just nations, but literal kings will come from him. Third, God commits to being the everlasting God to Abram's descendants for all the generations to come. And finally, there's a huge real estate grant. God promises the whole land of Canaan, the very place where Abram is currently just hanging out as a foreigner, as an everlasting possession.
Which brings us to Section 2, what's in a name.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the personal identity shift required by the terms of this new contract. God declares no longer will you be called Abram. Your name will be Abraham. Why the change? Because the name Abraham literally means father of many nations. His very name is changed to permanently match his new contractual status. So every single time someone says his name, they're essentially reciting the terms of the deal out loud.
And, he isn't the only one. His wife's identity gets a major update too. God says she will no longer be called Sarai. Her new name will be Sarah. God promises to bless her and explicitly states she will be the mother of nations and that kings of peoples will come from her. This clause elevates her directly into the lineage of this massive promise.
Moving on to Section 3, the sign of circumcision.
Let's walk through this to cleanly explain the strict, non-negotiable physical rules, the signature, if you will, required to bind this everlasting agreement. Who does this apply to? Every single male among them, whether they were born in the household or even bought with money from a foreigner. When must it happen? Exactly at 8 days old. And look at the penalty clause for breaching it. Any uncircumcised male will be cut off from his people. The text is absolutely explicit here. Failing to bear this mark means he has completely broken the covenant.
So, the crucial point is that this contract wasn't just some theoretical or spiritual idea. The text says, "My covenant in your flesh is to be an everlasting covenant." It was designed as a permanent, physical, unavoidable marker passed down through generations.
Now for an incredible narrative twist in Section 4, a tale of 2 sons.
I absolutely love the human element in this text. God tells Abraham that Sarah is going to bear a son, and Abraham's reaction? He literally falls face down and laughs. I mean, he's doing the math in his head and says to himself, will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? It really highlights the sheer biological absurdity of the promise from a human perspective. Abraham even suggests an alternative, saying to God, if only Ishmael might live under your blessing.
And this brilliantly illustrates how God actually allocates the blessings in this contract. God responds to Abraham's plea for Ishmael with sort of a yes, but situation. Ishmael gets immense, unbelievable fruitfulness. God says he will surely bless him and make him a great nation. But, and this is a big but, the miraculously promised son, who is to be named Isaac and born by exactly this time next year, well, he is the sole heir to the everlasting covenant. The core contract passes exclusively through Isaac.
That being said, let's not overlook the specific scale of the promise given to Ishmael. The text specifically prophesies that Ishmael will become the father of 12 rulers. That is a massive demographic and political promise written directly into the source material, even if he isn't the primary holder of the overarching covenant. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, immediate action.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the execution of these terms is swift. Step 1. God finishes speaking with Abraham and goes up. Step 2. Look at the urgency here. On that very day, Abraham takes action. There is literally zero delay, no hesitation whatsoever. Step 3. The physical signing of the contract happens. The text meticulously notes that Abraham was 99, his son Ishmael was 13, and every single male in the household was circumcised with him, exactly to the letter as God commanded.
Which leaves us right here. We've just walked through this incredible, meticulously detailed document outlining names, land grants, physical signs, and specific heirs. So I'll leave you to ponder this. How does this single, ancient physical contract, drafted between God and a 99-year-old man, continue to echo through history and shape the identity of entire nations today? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.